Hello and welcome to the talkSPORT Goals Preview Show, brought to you by Final One Standing is new from William Hill, 18+, gambleaware.org. I'm Sam Ellard, today joined by Sam Norris from William Hill. Sam, good to have you on the show. Let's start with Final One Standing, shall we? It's getting exciting. A hard weekend this weekend to predict. Do you know from the original start of the season how many people left in? There's not too many, is there?
Yeah, so we had, I think, just shy of 300,000 players in the big 500k jackpot league for the big money. And we've really thinned the field. We've got like kind of four figures left. There's still a few thousand left to play for at big money. And then, of course, we've got players who are perhaps alive in multiple leagues with a chance to really net some serious cash. We had the 200 grand reloaded jackpot straight out the international break. You could play that and the 500k. So we've got people who are alive in both of those leagues. But yeah, there will be a few who are just starting to dream of the $500,000 or at least a share of it by this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Arsenal, Man City this weekend, United, Chelsea this weekend, I've already heard a few people talking about how tough it is this weekend to maybe pick a team. So yeah, good luck to everyone doing Final One Standing. Let's get then into the Premier League games this weekend. We start with a good one: Liverpool versus Everton. Liverpool 4 wins from 4 in the league, 100% record. They have lost just one, Liverpool, of their last 28 home games against Everton. You have, though, had a decent start to the season, 7 points from 4, and Everton have won 6 of their last 11 away games on the road. So they're travelling well under David Moyes. I reckon, Sam, a popular market for this game will be people backing maybe Liverpool to score 80+ minutes.
Yeah, it feels like that as well. I mean, I can't tell you how bad it is from a bookmaker point of view to have such a popular favourite like Liverpool score in the last minute against Burnley and then do it again against Atleti just a few days later. I know we won't get too much sympathy from the punters, but heartbreaking stuff that when we thought we were going to get a result.
But the violence away, Sam, come on.
I know, I will. Look, Liverpool odds on, as you might imagine, at 4-9. As you said, they've made a perfect start to the season. They've not been in top gear as of yet, not firing all cylinders, but it's a tried and tested cliche. The very best teams win, even when they're not at their best. That's what Liverpool have been doing. They're 4-9 favourites going into this. As you mentioned, they've got a wonderful record at Anfield in this fixture. Everton priced up at 11-2 and the draw 7-2. But we'd probably give Everton more of a chance than we thought we were going to at this stage of the season. Midway through the summer, they look like they could be in a bit of trouble, but they look like they might be a side. Still early days of the season, isn't it? But they might, even challenge for a top 10, top 8 spot this season. I think perhaps the bet's having the game, though. And I know this has got a bit of a reputation as a friendly derby, but there's been more red cards in this fixture than any other Premier League fixture, helped along by the fact that they've played each other so much. It's 4-1 for a red this time around. And I think that might be an all right way into the game, with Everton looking better than we expected, perhaps, in Liverpool. Hard to criticise them when they've won all their games, but perhaps not looking quite as good as they were. Wasn't a great debut for Isak in midweek, but he's popular in the goal scorer markets already. He's 10-11 any time, and it is a game that will have an epic boost on as well come the weekend. We landed Gyökeres last week. That was even money from 1-5. Had another one go in midweek thanks to Impact sub. So yeah, check back for a big boost on this game. But I think the red at 4-1 might be interesting.
Yeah, good stuff, Sam. That's the 12:30 game to our 3 o'clock games. Brighton Spurs is the one that jumps out to me. Spurs, 3 wins from 4 in the league, beating Villarreal in the Champions League in the week. Brighton, inconsistent, winning 1, drawing 1, losing 2. Brighton have lost just 1 of their last 10 home league games and did do the double over Spurs last season. I'm intrigued to know, Sam, how William Hill have priced this game up. I think this is a hard one to call.
Yeah, I was the same as you. This is a really funny one to predict, I think. Brighton, with the strength of home advantage, in my view, quite short. They're 5-4 to get the better of Spurs here, who are 19-10, with the draw price up at 5-2. As you said, did the double over Spurs last season. I mean, they've already beaten Manchester City this season, Brighton, so we know what they can do on their day. But I think there will be a few punters just eyeballing that 19-10 for Spurs and thinking that might be quite a big price. They feel like a team this season, Spurs, that you want to avoid when they're short and maybe get involved when they're a bigger price. Because I think they are going to get turned over at short odds a few times this season. But I think, like we've already seen against Man City, I think they're going to pop up and surprise people on a number of occasions as well. I think they're big at 19-10. Get why Brighton are favourites, but I think there's a lot between the two in the betting.
With that, then, I think I might sit on the fence and go for the draw at 5-2. That might be standing out for me. So yeah, Brighton Spurs will be an intriguing game. Burnley v Forest. Feels like a big game for Ange already, doesn't it? Forest have lost back-to-back games under Ange. Arsenal in the league last Saturday, Swansea in the Carabao Cup, despite being 2-0 up. Burnley have the highest expected goals against of any Premier League team this season, and these fixtures normally have goals in them in 6 of the last 7 meetings. Both sides have scored. Perhaps both teams to score and Forest to win is a bet that I like here, Sam.
I could definitely see both teams to score. Yeah, that's 3-4. The way Ange Postecoglou sets his sides up is just always conducive for this market. I'm going to take you on though and go for Burnley here.
Okay.
It's a good point you make about the expected goals against, but they were really unlucky not to get anything against Liverpool, really unlucky not to get anything against United. I think they keep putting in good performances like that. The luck is going to turn at some stage. They're 11-5 at home. You're not going to get a chance to back too many Premier League teams at north of 2-1 on home soil this season. And you're getting an opportunity to take on a Forest side who've lost their last 2 Premier League games 3-0. And obviously the manner of the defeats in midweek, throwing away the 2-goal lead against Swansea. So, yeah, I think Burnley have put in 2 really good performances in Italy in defeat the last twice. I think they might get the rub of the green this time around. And I think they're a big price at 11-5. But yeah, you make a really good point with the both teams to score there. And I do just think Ange Postecoglou's side, it feels like both teams to score is always around the corner. It's 16-5 Forest win with both teams to score, 11-2 Burnley win and both teams to score. We'll agree on BTTS. But
Yeah. Look at us with our big brash predictions here this morning, picking a Forest game to have both teams to score. Just while we mentioned Burnley, have we seen much change since last weekend on relegation markets?
Not an enormous shift in the betting, no, because like I said, even though Burnley have turned in 2 very sort of spirited performances, they have lost both the games, and ultimately, as we know, you've got to put actual points on a board. So they're still the most likely team to go down in our book at 4-11. Wolves are odds on at 4-6, and Sunderland kind of third in the market. They are also trading at a pretty short price. They're even money, not quite odds on at the moment. And Leeds, the outsides at 13-8. We'll get to that Leeds Wolves game in a moment, but that could have a big impact on the relegation.
Well, let's go then straight, shall we, to Wolves Leeds. Wolves have lost each of their first 4 games in the league for the first time in their history. Leeds have 4 points on their return to the Premier League. Not bad on paper, but failed to score since the opening day of the season. League's Premier League games this season have seen the fewest number of shots on target, so I'm not expecting too many goals in this game. I think I'd like to know the price, Sam, of a 1-0 Wolves win in this game. And also as well, you're a Wolves fan, aren't you? Not a good start to the season, but we learn on Wednesday the newish manager, Vitor Pereira, despite 4 games, 4 defeats, a new contract. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of it surprises massively. He's got plenty of credit in the bank from last season, obviously steering them away from relegation trouble. Looked bang up against it when he took over. Went on a win of winning 6 straight games, which for any Premier League team, even if you're a title winner, that's quite impressive to win 6 on the spin. So that's still fresh enough in the memory that I think he does have the credit in the bank. But yeah, the timing seems odd.
What price can we get then on a Wolves victory this weekend?
Wolves are priced up at 8-5 to win the game outright, 13-2 that they win 1-0. Leeds are 7-4. It looks like Leeds are going to probably pick up the vast majority of their points at Elland Road this season. That's a big advantage for them. We know what the atmosphere is like there, etc. So
I think goals is an issue though, Sam, for Leeds this season. The games I've watched, there, I know that's some tricky games. Had to go to Arsenal. Had to play Newcastle at home. They look like a big, strong, physical team that can defend well and keep teams out. I think defensively, I'm not sure they get enough goals this season. So possibly on the relegation price, do you think 13-8 is quite big for Leeds to go down?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they are as big as they are at 13-8. I mean, I know we're only 4 games in; it's a small sample size, but Sunderland have looked, by far and away the most competent of the 3 promoted sides. I can't really have them at a shorter price than Leeds for relegation at the moment. It's a good point you make, actually, about the kind of physicality that Leeds have added this season. That's very much been the MO in the transfer window for Wolves. They tried to acquire big, strong, physical players, maybe at the expense of a more technical, creative type player. So under 2.5 goals, I mean, the traders have beat us to it. It's 8-13 here. It is odds on, but it could be a game that's ripe for cards as well, with so much kind of physicality on the pitch for both sides. 90 minutes wise, I think the draw seems the way to play it. By the way, at 21-10.
Okay, and one more 3 o'clock game is West Ham versus Crystal Palace. Palace unbeaten in their last 6 visits to the London Stadium. Palace have lost just 2 of their last 17 away games in the league, which is some record, isn't it? And West Ham at home haven't won in their last 7 home games, losing by an aggregate score of 10-2. Sam, is everything here pointing towards a Palace victory, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. As you rightly point out, that's some record they've got going to the London Stadium. It's just by the nature of the ground, it's not particularly a difficult place to go. I don't think hard to generate an atmosphere there. I know, West Ham fans will know that. I'll be preaching to the choir in that regard. So I think we will see a lot of sides go there without any fear. Can't really see how Palace aren't the play in this one at 7-5, other than the fact that again West Ham, they could be viewed as a bit of a price at 15-8. But yeah, it'd be Palace all the way for me in this one at 7-5. Thought they might struggle this season. Lost some key players, managed to keep some key players as well, but they look.
But also, Sam, I thought the thing that surprised me most, the thing that worries me most about Palace this season is that, I thought winning a cup into Europe, that it'd be an opportunity this summer to really go, we've got a great coach, we're in Europe, we're going to back him now and really try and improve in the team, strengthen the team to get to the next level. Whereas it feels like Ez has gone, they've brought in a replacement for him. They haven't brought in enough players for me to be able to push on to the next level and maybe cope with the demands of Europe. And my worry is the Sunderland game on the weekend just gone. Again, they dominated possession, again in terms of control, but weren't able to break the deadlock. And I wonder this season, Palace, they might just lack at times maybe that quality in the final third and might draw games they should be winning, perhaps.
Yeah, and the lack of depth once Europe really kicks in is going to be an issue, I think, for them. I've kind of already got them sort of penciled in as a team to maybe start to look to take on once the fixtures pile up, given that they haven't really got a lot of bodies in through the door. And as you said, the time to strengthen is when you're on top, really. Did well to hold on to Gay, of course. That's massive. Even if he does go at the end of the season, it's not going to affect them until then. But yeah, it's a good point you make. And I think once those European fixtures start to really kick in for Palace, we're going to see big rotation. And I think the squad might look a little lacking when they do start to have to rotate players.
Yeah, that Thursday-Sunday schedule we know can be tricky. This is the talkSPORT Goals preview show brought to you by Final One Standing is new from William Hill, 18+, gambleaware.org. 5 games down, 5 games to go. And this is the talkSPORT Goals preview show brought to you by Final One Standing. It's new from William Hill, 18+, gambleaware.org. Let's carry on with our Premier League preview. United-Chelsea, Saturday, 5:30. Chelsea-Man United is the most drawn fixture in Premier League history. This was a stat that surprised me. United unbeaten in their last 12 home Premier League games against Chelsea. Chelsea's last win at Old Trafford was May 2013, 12 years ago. Only Man City have a higher expected goals total so far this season in the Premier League than Man United, which is something else I found interesting. But Sam Norris, despite Chelsea's bad record away at Old Trafford, I find it hard not to back Chelsea here.
Yeah, kind of exactly the same thought. I was surprised that their record at Old Trafford is so poor, actually. But even with that caveat, they don't make much appeal at 17%, do they, Manchester United? I actually kind of had high hopes in this season after the first game that, they look quite good against Arsenal. I know they lost, but there was some positivity to take out of that game. That's kind of all been sort of sucked out the air now. Well beaten by Manchester City last weekend. And again, we're sort of seeing Ruben Amorim's kind of rigid style and the lack of wanting to change anything kind of come up and bite them in the backside again. So they are hard to fancy in this one, I think. The one bright spot for United this season, though, I think has been Brian and Bumo. I think it just shows, we might have spoke about this on the social previously, actually. Buying proven Premier League quality, which I know you can get some gems from the far-flung leagues, etc. And scouting's better than it ever was these days. And everybody wants to unearth that diamond in the rough. But there really is no substitute than buying players who are already good in the Premier League. And Bumo has looked good so far. And he's got a really good record against Chelsea. 3 goals and 3 assists in his 7 Premier League games against Chelsea. So he almost has a goal involvement in every single fixture he plays against them. He's 23-20 to score or assist in this match. I could see United getting a goal. Don't think there's much hope of them winning the game. But if they do get a goal, expecting Bournemouth to be involved. 23-20 to score or assist. I think looks good given his Chelsea record. He did miss a presentable opportunity against City last week, didn't he? But I think that could be interesting. And Cole Palmer appears to be backfiring again now. He's 13-8 to score any time. Obviously came off the bench against Brentford, scored, got one in midweek, had one disallowed as well. He'd gone a long time since scoring from open play, hadn't he? But those 2 goals in a matter of a few days, I think will mean that he's got his tail up. And he's a bit of a big game player as well, Palmer. So him to score 13-8 is interesting. And Bumo, goal or assist, 23-20 is interesting. But yeah, it's hard to fancy Manchester United, even though Chelsea got that record at Old Trafford.
Yeah, you should come up with the market, Sam. Will Ruben Amorim ever change his system? Yes or no? And you have to guess every week, yes or no. I mean, it's mad, isn't it? 9 months into his reign, 8 wins in 31 Premier League games. Half of those against teams that have been relegated. And yet he still continues to pick the same system game in, game out. And hasn't even once attempted to try and put a 3-man midfield in with Kobbie Mainoo. Anyway, probably a debate for a show on talkSPORT all the way throughout the week. Fulham Brentford is the Saturday 8 o'clock kickoff. Any standout bets here for you, Sam?
Yeah, bizarrely, there are a couple, actually. I think a lot of people have looked at this game and thought, Fulham Brentford is the 8 p.m. game.
Is that why you think I rushed through my link there on Fulham Brentford? I've tried to make this one a quick one, and you've got not at all. This is one that really stands out for me.
I think a lot of people are thinking that. The main bet in the game, under 2.5 goals at 17-20. Fulham are one of only 2 teams in the Premier League yet to have conceded a goal from open play. So they've obviously been, really, really watertight at the back. And Brentford don't take a lot of shots. Only Burnley have had fewer shots than Brentford this season. So you can't see a goal fest at all here. Under 2.5 at 17-20 looks good. I think it's a hard game to call a result in. Fulham are evens, Brentford are 5-2 in that regard, but I'd play low on the goals. And Sasa Lukic to be booked remains a really good bet. It's not a sensational price. He's 13-8 to see yellow, but he got booked 12 times last season for Fulham. He's already had 2 yellow cards this season. He is, in my mind, kind of the most reliable player for a yellow card in the Premier League. If I could just back one player every week to be booked in the Premier League, it would be Sasa Lukic. So 13-8 for him to be booked in a low-scoring affair, I think looks good for the 8 o'clock game.
To the Sunday 2 o'clock game, then Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Of course, Newcastle coming into this game on the back of a tough Champions League game against Barcelona on a Thursday evening. Bournemouth had a really good start to the season, 3 wins from 4. The only defeat was away to Liverpool, first game of the season. Bournemouth thumped Newcastle 4-1 away from home in January at St James's Park. But Newcastle, who did pick up their first win of the season against your lot Wolves, Voltemade, of course, scoring his first goal in his first start. And Newcastle have lost just 1 of their last 7 trips to Bournemouth. We fancying just Bournemouth at home here, maybe?
I've been really impressed with Bournemouth so far. Obviously, they acquitted themselves really well on the first game of the new season. They lost 4-2 to Liverpool, but there was no disgrace in that, and they emerged with plenty of credit. They've won their next 3 games, looking good, really. I fancied them to win the match at 29-20. Newcastle didn't blow me away when beating Wolves last week.
You could have been 2 or 3 up, couldn't you, in the first 10 minutes?
Well, yeah, I mean, for the first 60 seconds of the game, it was incredible. It was 2 really good chances in the first minute.
You're just a 60-second team. That's the problem with Wolves, isn't it?
Less so after that, yeah. We're not going to stay up just playing 60 seconds every week.
Try and win the game in the first. Who was the team? Was it Brentford last season who had that ridiculous record of just scoring like 3 games in a row in the first minute?
3 or 4 games it was, yeah. We actually priced up goal to be scored in the first 5 minutes. I remember talking about it last season, actually. I think maybe that week they scored in the 6th minute. But in any case, I think Bournemouth are probably the play to win the match. One thing that did really strike me about Newcastle last week, though, and this is probably a bit of an obvious thing to say, but if anybody has missed it, Voltemade is obviously ginormous. Dan Burn.
No, that is an obvious thing to say, Sam.
I think that set pieces are going to be key for Newcastle this season. Now, the corner count market here, where home sides tend to be a little bit favoured, we expect them to have the most possession. Bournemouth and Newcastle both average 6.75 corners a game each this season, so they're bang level in that regard. Newcastle is 6-4 to have more corners in this match, and I just think that's going to be really big for them this year. With targets like Voltemade and Burn to aim at, I think they're going to potentially play for corners. I just think the set pieces will be massive. So Newcastle to have the most corners at 6-4 is a bet that I'm interested, not just this week, but as a bit of a project going forward. And on a similar line of thinking, Kieran Trippier takes most of the corners. Backing him to provide an assist, I think could be interesting going forward. I think they'll have a lot of joy in that regard. I mean, Voltemade rising up for their goal over Agbadou last week, who is not a diminutive figure, and he just outleapt him. I think they'll be causing chaos from corners going forward this season. So Newcastle in the corners markets, Trippier assists. These are more kind of long-term projects to follow over the next few weeks if they keep trying to hit the big men in the middle. But in terms of a winner, yeah, I've been really impressed with Bournemouth 29-20. They look like they might be this season's Forest and could even, trouble the top 5, top 6 places. That's how much I rate them so far.
I tell you what, Lee Phelps is under pressure next week to get a slot back. That corner bet market there is some serious research and thinking. I like it. Sunderland, Villa, 2 p.m. Villa find themselves 19th, yet to win, yet to score remarkably out of the cup in the week, losing to Brentford on penalty. Sunderland have won both their home games in the league this season. First it was West Ham, then it was Brentford, looking to win 3 in a row at home in the Premier League for the first time since 2012. Can I get a price, please, on Aston Villa to score a goal, Sam? Is it going to happen this weekend?
Well, surely it'll happen eventually. What are they? The only side in the top 7 divisions that haven't got a goal in the league so far this season. It's 1-14 that we get any goal in the match, by the way, although that's not specific to Aston Villa. Look, it's going to happen at some stage. Are they 1-4 to score a goal in the game, Villa? So there you go. If you think that's
sure, isn't it? Given they're the only team in the top 7 not to have scored a goal, no?
It's based on their 90-minute price, which is 11-10. I do think, Sunderland could be interesting here at 5-2 at home. They've looked, as we said earlier on, the most competent of the promoted sides, even though they came into the season as the favourite, I think, for relegation. Signed really well. Confidence is right up there. One caveat for the Sunderland players, Emery has got a good record against promoted sides, a really good record against newly promoted sides, actually. I think unbeaten in his last 15, he's won 12 of those. So that might tempt punters in at 11-10 for Villa. Pre-season, you'd have been looking at odds on probably about Villa for this match, so there may be a bigger price than they would have been in that regard, but it's purely based on what's happened. This is a Bet Builder winnings boost game as well, where you've got a 25% boost on Bet Builders at 3-1 or bigger. Impact Sub covers all the player markets as well in that regard. I found this the hardest game of the 10 to call, to be perfectly honest with you, Sam. So it's one I'd probably sit out the outright result and maybe play some player markets for Bet Builder fans.
Good stuff. And we finish, maybe say the best or last, Arsenal, Man City, Sunday 4:30, Emirates Stadium. It's got that big game feel to it, doesn't it, Sam? I think especially because City looks, I know United are the best of teams at the moment, but beating United at home, looking good, scoring goals, keeping a clean sheet. Are there any markets that jump out here for you?
I think the first thing that jumps out is the fact that Arsenal are odds on at 19-20. I do think they'll win the game, and they've got a good record in this fixture at the Emirates. I mean, they won this game 5-1 last season, so maybe it's not a bigger surprise to see them as short as they are at 19-20. City have already blown hot and cold there, 27-10, and the draw price up at 5-2. Fingers crossed we get a good game here. I'm always interested in having a little saver on 0-0 when we get these big clashes. They can sometimes cancel each other out, and there's so much put on the defensive elements of the game. We don't need to go into Arteta's philosophy in that regard, but no matter what bets I have on these big clashes, I always just like to keep a little bit back and have a little go on the 0-0 just in case. 0-0's 11-1 in this game. I think if you're looking toward player markets, the fact that Manchester City are 27-10 means that some of their big guns are a bigger price than you would ordinarily get. Erling Haaland, who's looked in sensational touch so far this season, has had 8 shots on target in 4 games. Even a poor mathematician like me can work out that's an average of 2 per game, and he's 8-5 just to reproduce that. 8-5 to have over 1 shot on target for Erling Haaland. I know they're playing Arsenal, but a bit of odds against about him to have over 1 shot on target. You won't see that week in, week out. So that's an interesting play in the player markets, and you could stick that in with an Arsenal win in the Bet Builder. They're not. I know they're somewhat opposite bets, but I could easily cop. So Haaland looks big, given that Man City are big this week, but I do think Arsenal will win it. And this is our Bet Builder money back game as well this week. So you can have a Bet Builder on this game and you get your cash back if it doesn't cop.
And good stuff. And very briefly, Sam, I'm wondering, with the final one standing, the people that are still in from the first weekend of the season, 4 weekends done, I think lots of people might have had Liverpool, City, Arsenal and Chelsea as the 4 already done. And I think then looking at the fixtures, not being able to pick those 4 teams, I really think there are so many fixtures which are hard to pick a team, hard to back a team. Where do you think people might go for final one standing pick this weekend? Possibly maybe Palace away at West Ham could be the way to go?
Yeah, very possible. We've seen quite a few people actually looking to take West Ham on in recent weeks. Palace did let down a lot of backers. I think they're the
Yeah,
third most popular pick last week against Sunderland. But that being said, if you're still in the 500k league, for example, then you obviously didn't pick Palace last week, so you haven't had your heart broken. It's a surprise to me how many people have still got Liverpool left, by the way. 32% of players in the 500k game are on Liverpool last week. Now, they did start the season on the Friday night. We didn't open final one standing until the Saturday, so you couldn't use them in week one. Then they played Newcastle and Arsenal, so it maybe weren't popular picks then. But yeah, you'd have thought Burnley would have grabbed a big share of it last week. So for a second week in a row, Liverpool are the most popular team.
Yeah, that's impressive to still be in, having 4 games in, and still be able to have Liverpool up your sleeve. I would have thought that they'd have been, you know, a bit like City and Arsenal, almost certainly a certainty to be picked, but that's why I got knocked out of the 500k one very early. And lots of other people are still going strong, aren't they? Where are you at are you still in the 500k?
No, got knocked out in week 2. My plan this season was to take on Burnley every week. I thought Burnley would be the worst team in the Premier League. As it turns out, worst team in the Premier League are actually Wolves. So serves me right for thinking that and taking on poor old Burnley. So I had Sunderland week 2.
You were blinkered by the first minute of your games against Newcastle, where I thought I can't do that. Sam Norris, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the footballing weekend.
Thanks, Sam.
This has been the talkSPORT Goals Preview Show, brought to you by Final One Standing is new from William Hill, 18+, gambleaware.org. talkSPORT Goals is back on Saturday at 12:30 on talkSPORT's YouTube channel and on your smart TVs. Please join us.